Seems like everyone, so I just want to say thank you so much for everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you. This is a really special. I'm really proud of my brother for putting this together. I think that, this isn't just a standalone event, but really a series of programming that he's put together to really elevate our family. So, when I received the invitation to present today, I experienced some of what he described today, that imposter syndrome. What do I have to share with my family, with friends about success? And through reflecting in that and accepting the invitation, I accepted because of all of you. Because all of you matter and all of you deserve to be standing here. All of my cousins, all of you here today, in the series to come, I want to see you come here and talk to everyone about different strategies that you've used to be successful. So because of all of you, I stand here before today, because there is greatness within me and greatness within all of you. And I think as I reflect on my success thus far, I think one of the strengths that I possess that I want to share with all of you is self-discipline. I think that in my 30 short years of life, I have demonstrated self-discipline since I was really young. And I'm going to share my personal journey with all of you so you could see what that looks like at different ages and what it can lead to. So my presentation today is titled Self-Discipline, the bridge between goals and accomplishments. So with that said, we're going to get started. As we think about self-discipline, I think it's important that we start by thinking about what is self-discipline. I want to invite my cousins here today to participate. I'm going to give a gift card out. Whoever can tell me, what is your understanding of self-discipline? Like, there's no right or wrong answers. We're going to build on each other's understanding, okay? So who can tell me what is their understanding of self-discipline? When you hear that, yes?
Setting goals for yourself.
Setting goals, okay, that's one gift card. I like that. It is definitely rooted in setting goals. Anyone else want to take it a step further? Setting goals. What else does it involve? Yes.
Working hard.
Working hard. I like that. Yes. Lots of working hard. Okay. So big round of applause for our 2 volunteers. A lot of courage to speak out and to share your understanding of information. So I just want to commend the leadership that you two have showed today by sharing your understanding of self-discipline. In today's presentation, I will highlight that self-discipline involves goals, hard work, but also is rooted in self-regulation to achieve a goal, okay? Self-regulation. So with that in mind, today's presentation, Michael, we can go to the next slide, is really rooted on this discipline formula, right? We hear about discipline, but what does that really mean and how can we apply it to our lives? And in my personal life, it's really been consistent of these 4 key markers, okay? My formula to success has been this formula you see here. And it really starts with your why, okay? And I defined your why to be your purpose in life. All of us have a calling to be here today. Secondly, it involves goal setting. Third, it's focused on consistency. And then lastly, I'll talk about positive self-talk. With that said, we're going to go into the first portion of it and your why, okay? So earlier I told you that your why, I think of your why as your life purpose. Now I know your life purpose can be scary, like, wow, that's like really ambitious to think about. Like, why was I put on this world? What was I set out to achieve? But for me, something that makes it less scary and more attainable is to think about my why. Like, why do I wake up every single day? Why do I work hard every day, right? It's really important that if you haven't reflected on that why, that we start thinking about it. And your why is going to change year after year as you grow, evolve. But as it stands now, my current why is really rooted on what you see in this image. Here you see a picture of my family. My family here, this is my immediate family. And this is really my pillar to my success. And as I think about this pillar of success, right? You can't talk about success until you reflect and talk about where you started. Like many of you, my parents are immigrant parents. My mom and my dad came to the United States for a personal, better living, right? At the time, I'm sure that it didn't involve kids, but that was part of their journey. And unfortunately for them, their success really was imparted in making sure that their kids were successful. With that in mind, that's something that my mom taught me very early on. As early as kindergarten, I remember her sharing with me. I will never forget, every day she would give us her bendición, a blessing, and she would tell me, échale ganas. That means work hard. And for me, that to me, every single day meant carrying the torch. Carrying the torch for my mother, who didn't have the privilege based on her disability, as she struggles with cerebral palsy, to go to school. So I carried her torch. In this image, you don't see my dad there. That's because he worked a lot, and for whatever reason, he didn't have a prominent role in my life. But one thing that through my family's experiences, I always learned to focus on the positive. You know, my dad wasn't there, but he taught me one important thing, and it was hard work. I can reflect back as my childhood and think about not one day did my dad miss work. So I took the positive from my parents' experience and I carried that torch every single day since I was in kindergarten. Échale ganas, work hard, and carry my dad's work ethic. With this in mind, there was another layer of stress that was imparted in me. At that time, it felt that way. It felt like a lot of weight on my shoulders, and it was my siblings. Because my mom told me at a very young age, I had to set a positive example for my siblings. That was a lot to carry as I described. But every single day, I rooted myself on working hard and setting a positive example for my siblings. As I think about my academic journey, I was far from a straight A student. I remember in K through 12, when I was in elementary school, I was an ESL student. Basically, that means that my main language was Spanish. I really struggled with reading and writing. Despite that, I always served as my parents' translators. I would sign my siblings' papers and really act as a support system to my mother. So that was really important at that time. It felt like a lot of weight, but that was a golden nugget my mom gave me. And I want all of you to think about your lives, right? Sometimes you think like, well, it's not fair that I don't have this and that, right? My friends may have a little bit more than I do, right? But you have to think about community wealth. And in me, at a young age, first grade, helping my mom translate, she taught me responsibility. And that's something that I continue to carry out. So as I mentioned earlier, I talked about how I really struggled academically, right? And it wasn't until middle school that I realized that I was an ESL student. One thing I will give credit to my father is that he always affirmed us, highlighted the positive things in us. And he would always tell me like, it's a great thing that you are in ESL. It's like you know two languages. You're that much more intelligent. So I always carried that badge of honor, always focusing on the positive. But when I was in middle school, I learned the implications of that because I was in ESL, that would lead to a roadblock in my education. That wouldn't allow me to be college bound. So with that in mind, I worked really hard to test out of English as a second language. And then it was when I started my journey of going to college. It wasn't until 6th grade when I was admitted into Avid and I realized how much I didn't know. At that point, I felt like college wasn't for me. I didn't even know the difference between a community college and a 4-year university. So to see my cousins before me knowing all of that, it makes my heart so full and happy because you all are going to go that much further than all of us. And then, so middle school, I was on this trajectory to work really hard and go to a 4-year university. And that was the case in high school too. I was hungry for it. I wanted it back, and I was determined to go to a 4-year university. I spent the time to get the grades that were needed, but unfortunately, and one thing I'll highlight later on is that life is going to present you with roadblocks. It is a given. okay? Whoever told you life was perfect lied to you. And we want to prepare you for that, okay? Know that there is going to be roadblocks. And we want to empower you with a tool set that will allow you to move that roadblock and continue walking forward. So that roadblock for me in high school was getting admissions to a four-year university. It's called admissions for getting a D in calculus. So I had worked so hard all my life to go to college, and then I got taken away. So I thought, man, if this grade that I was in ESL, this is a second reminder of life telling me college isn't meant for me, right? But then I had a wonderful role model, my cousin Jesse, who went to UCLA, and through his path, he taught me that it doesn't have to be a direct path. Sometimes it has tosses and turns, but as long as you're determined, you can achieve that. So I went to community college. I started at the lowest level of English and math. And one thing I'll highlight is I didn't even know how to actually register for classes. I showed up the first day of classes, went to the classes that my counselor recommended, and I learned that I wasn't enrolled in any class. So I'm like, this is the third reminder of life that I just do not have what it takes to go to college. Maybe I should just work like my parents have and support the household. But just the thought of this picture here, going home to tell my mom and my siblings that college wasn't for me, was going to send a message to my siblings that college wasn't for them either. Because the person they grew up with that had the same resources couldn't do it. So that day, I knocked on teachers' doors and I pleaded for them to add me. That semester, I walked away as a full-time student. And I share that example with you all because it's, again, you're going to have roadblocks, but you cannot give up. And you have to anchor yourself in your why. If every single day you think about that mantra you have, échale ganas, thinking about my mom, you will never give up. So through that, I was able to finish community college, transfer to UCLA. After that, I got my master's in counseling. And now I stand before you as the youngest director at Long Beach City College, 30 years old and in a leadership position. And I think it's important for where I started and I anchored. Not only am I a first generation college student, but also a first generation professional. And this is a new pathway that you have to be able to chart. And the formula I'm about to share with you is going to help you get through those obstacles. So I spent a lot of time talking about my why, and I hope that kind of triggers some ideas for all of you. So I want to invite you all to turn over your paper, and I want you to share with me, Michael, if we could go to the next slide. What is your why? I share with you my why. What is yours? Okay. So think about your why as what motivates you every single day. Okay. And it's okay if you don't know that yet, but I want to challenge you every single day though, thereafter, because today it's all about information sharing. If you don't know today, it's okay. But moving forward, I want you to start reflecting. Every morning when you wake up, it's really good activity to anchor yourself on your why. Because if you every day start off with that mantra, then you will not give up, okay? Anyone that wants to share with me their why? Yes.
Generational wealth.
Generational wealth. Yeah, I like that. Generational wealth. I can really relate to that. I know that was definitely something that also motivated me, right? Elevating my family financially. With that said, everyone, we're going to circle back to your whys as we go into the next phase of the presentation, and that's goal setting. Go to the next one. So setting goals is really easy, right? But achieving them is far from easy. Why do you all think that is? It's easy to set goals, but achieving them is a different story.
Our mindset, maybe we're not there.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Our mindset, yes.
It depends on how much you want it.
It depends on how much you want it. I like that. That's exactly true. And I'm going to touch on those two things in the slides to come. So goal setting is really important because it helps you activate new behaviors, right? And it helps guide your focus. Think about it this way. When you have a complex math problem, do you do it in your head? Most of the time you don't, right? Because it's so meticulous and you have to be able to really cross-reference your information. So with that in mind, you don't want to do your goal setting just in your head. You have to write it out. And you have to parse it out to really be something attainable and that you can work towards every single day. Now, it's important to do goal setting and especially write them out. Research shows that 76% of people that write out their goals and provide weekly progress updates to someone that holds them accountable, such as a friend, achieve their goals. So with that said, today, right, if we're building on our communal wealth, I want all of us to work on establishing one goal, okay? And I want it to be a goal that's meaningful and attached to your why, okay? Because a lot of the times we set a goal and we don't achieve it because it's not attached to your why. Maybe in that moment in your life, it's not. So today we're gonna work towards the goal together. And Michael handed out this handout to all of you here. And this is a SMART goal worksheet, okay? This helps you break up a big lofty goal into different questions. The first area is you wanna make sure your goal is specific, okay? So here you have to describe your in detail, as much as possible, okay? The next thing is measurable. How can we track your goal? How are we gonna know you're meeting that? And then the next area is achievable. Is this possible? Okay, and how? The next area is it relevant? So how does it attach to your why and where you're at in your life? And then lastly is timely. What is your deadline? When are we gonna follow up? Okay, so I'm gonna give you all about 4 minutes to work on this, and I'm gonna circle around to help you all out, okay? I want everyone to fill this out together, and we're gonna hold each other accountable to this, okay? So time starts now. So what is a specific goal? So for me, for example, it's like, I want to go to graduate school and get my PhD, right? So how do I break that down? Measurable. So I have to submit my application to my PhD program in a year. Achievable. How do I know it's going to get done? Because I'm going to submit an application and I can show proof for that. That's relevant to where I am professionally. And timely, my goal is to get this done and admitted to grad school in 2 years. So that's an idea of how we could break it down. And I'll give you all about 4 minutes. Time is up now. Okay. Time is up. So if I can get everyone's attention, who wants to share with me their goal? Just the goal, the specific part. Who wants to share? So I want to encourage someone that hasn't shared yet. Who wants to share? It could be something big, it could be small. Yes, Jesse? $12 million? Woo! Yes! I love that. See, and we're all going to hold Jesse accountable to that. All of us today, right? Every time I'm going to look at everyone's goal and I'm going to hold you accountable. That's a really important piece that I'm going to touch on in the slides to come. So we'll go to the next slide. So we started, right? You're the first, right? What is the important part of the formula?
Why?
Your why. What is the second part of the formula? New volunteer.
Your wife. No, your wife.
What is the second part of the formula? You all just did it. Yes. Your goal. Yes, that's exactly true. So now we're going to the third part. Okay. So the next thing is it takes approximately 1 month of doing something consistently for it to become a habit. With that said, the third part of the formula is consistency. You have to work at this goal every single day. Okay, and now we'll go to the next one. So we have to develop a schedule. How are you going to work towards this goal? Now, one way for you to achieve this goal is to think about small tasks, right? Everyday things that you can do that will help you work towards your goal. So I want to invite you all to write 2 tasks that you can do on a daily basis that's going to work towards your goal. What are 2 things? Reading. I love it. Okay, Liliana. And Liliana, do you want to tell us what your goal is?
Go back to school and get my AA.
Did you all hear that? Liliana's goal, to go back to school and get her AA. We're going to hold you accountable to that. So Liliana said her small task she can work on is reading on an ongoing basis. Okay, that's wonderful. We want to take it a step further and you want to provide yourself reminders, okay? So based on your preferred style, I want you all to put reminders, whether it's on your planner, your school planner, on your cell phone. My cell phone is full of alarms because I am holding myself accountable to the different goals that I have in mind, okay? So that's going to be how you're going to actually apply this, okay? The next step is accountability. So one of the ways that people can work towards achieving their goal, remember the statistic I shared? 76% of people that wrote down their goal and shared it with a partner are that much more likely to achieve their goal because there's someone there to hold them accountable, okay? So who's going to be that partner for you? Write it down. Who's going to be that person that you're going to provide ongoing updates about that goal? Who wants to share with me who that person's going to be? Maybe Nadia and Danny, can you share with me who that partner's going to be for you? Danny. Okay, I love that. Write that down on your paper. That Danny's going to be that person for you. Now, I want to be honest with you all. As you think about your goals, right? It's important for you to know that there's going to be external factors. You could think about that as roadblocks, things that don't go your way. It's going to happen. And one thing I hate is that in society, we sometimes don't discuss that. And we only see people's success, but we don't know the journey, the turns and tribulations that they've experienced, okay? So for that, I want you to write down what are 3 external factors or roadblocks that could get in your way, okay? So for example, me, right? I have that my goal is to get my PhD. One roadblock could be work, right? That could be a roadblock. Familial responsibilities. So for me, those are 2. What about you? Based on your goal, what could be an obstacle that can come up? Yes, Joaquin. So Joaquin is sharing with us. School, okay? School could get in the way of your goal, yeah. Okay. Laziness, right? Procrastination. Yeah, that's a really important part. And as we think about procrastination, one strategy that I recently adopted is when an idea ignites, right? So for example, those reminders, right? One simple thing could be like going to the gym. I put alarms on my phone. When that thought comes up, I better put on my sneakers and get out the door because the more I think about it, I'm less likely. And one rule that I adopted is like, I give myself the grace to go to the gym for 10 minutes. And if within those 10 minutes, I'm like, I am just in excruciating pain and I can't do this, I'll leave. That's never happened. Once I'm there, I develop like, I'm happy to be here. This is where I need to be. Okay. So I share that example to share when that thought or that reminder that you all are putting on is to do it. Don't think about it. Okay. Because if you allow yourself to allow your thoughts to navigate, your negative thoughts to navigate, you're less likely to do it and procrastinate. Okay. So it's important to have positive self-talk. And the reason for that is this is a fascinating thing and something that I recently really started exploring. And Junior talked about this earlier in his presentation, and it's your mindset. Your mindset consists, on average, all of you have about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. I know I do. It's like I have a person in there just talking and talking and talking. And a lot of the times, those thoughts, according to statistics, 80% are negative. I know that's true for me. Remember earlier I shared with you all, I felt like I wasn't good enough to come and talk to you all today. And that's very much the truth for me professionally. When I was presented with the opportunity to become an interim director, I was like, no way, I cannot do this. I don't know what it takes. I don't know the first thing about an articulation. But I thought to myself, my family is depending on me. And if my colleague can do this work, so can I. I just have to do the work to get there. So yeah, there is 12 to 60,000 thoughts that you have, and 80% of them are negative. With this in mind, we have to address them. So it's important that you have positive self-talk and that you conquer that negative thought. With this in mind, I've created a mantra for myself. So it's basically for every negative thought, I have to say 3 positive things to myself. So for example, if I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to blow this speech because I didn't prepare for it enough. I think about like, well, I gave a speech last week. It went really well. I got really positive remarks. And I think about all the good times, all the positive interactions that I've had doing that. okay? So you have to constantly be doing that. That's something as a 30-year-old that I still do on an ongoing basis. I have those negative thoughts all the time of self-doubt, and you have to combat them. So everyone here today has different goals. So one thing you could consider is I will never give up. I will never quit, okay? Every time you have a negative thought, and I just want to acknowledge that sometimes as we think about our mindset, that we get bottled with the work that we need to do, and we attach pain to it, right? How painful is it gonna be that I have to wake up at 5 in the morning to work? How painful is it gonna be that I have to do 10 hours of work? But I think to myself, right, I deserve a seat at the table, and I'm gonna put in the work that it requires. Earlier, I mentioned to you all that I don't think of myself as the smartest person, but one thing I do consider myself is the hardest working. And at work, I'm the youngest professional for a reason. And that's because I will outwork anyone. If that means that I get 2 hours of sleep, that's what I will do to help myself achieve my goals, but also my family, okay? So really, I think that success has been rooted in that positive self-talk and never quitting. With this in mind, I really wanted to focus before we, in closing, if we go to the next slide, Michael, our closing activity. I shared with you all earlier that we don't do enough of a job to talk about the daily stressors, right? That could be roadblocks. Okay, Michael, vamos castigar. So we'll wait for everyone to get this for our closing activity. Okay. So for our closing activity, it seems like everyone has a rubber band now, okay? We talked, so this rubber band here represents you, okay? This is you, okay? And your goal is the North Star, right? It's this lofty idea, something that is external. And life pulls you in different directions, right? Remember how we talked about those stressors that can impede you in achieving your goal? I want to have you walk through, what does it really look like? One thing as we think about mindset, and Felipe touched on this, is it's very an internal process. And a lot of the times you have to step out of your head and actually conceive of what is it going to look like. So I want you to actually work your goal, right? So my goal is to get a doctorate degree. What are going to be the stressors or things that could get in the way? Time, work, right? What else? Familial responsibilities, negativity, what else? I want you to do this for yourself and see what happens. Just keep going, all the things. So I'm going to give you all a minute. Talk it through out loud to yourself. What are the stressors? For some of you, it's gonna go far. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Everyone, more. See, so I'll demo it to you. So for me, there was 3 stressors, right? Time, familiar responsibilities, and work. Did I break? No. But guess what? I felt stretched. I feel like, ooh, this is uncomfortable. And I want you all to know, just like this rubber band, it's gonna feel uncomfortable. And that's okay. Because life is not meant to be in a state of comfort to achieve success. You're gonna feel uncomfortable. It's gonna feel tight, just like this rubber band. Did it rip?
No.
Did anyone's rip?
Mine did.
Don't yours? Okay. Let's say this rips. It rips. What happened? Guess what? If it rips, it can rip. Sometimes you hit a low that is so low that you think, I don't know what to do. It's okay to experience hurt, pain, but you tie it back up. You tie it back up. Who says you can't? It doesn't matter how long it's going to take you. You tie that rubber band stand up, okay? And you keep going. And sometimes it's okay to ask for help. Like right now, I'm having a hard time tying this. It's okay to turn to your family and say, hey, can you help me do this? That's why we're here. So I say all this to say, you all set a goal. We are gonna hold you accountable to this, right? And it's okay if this pops. That's why your family's here for you, okay? I love you all, and I look forward to seeing all of you achieve success. And on this stage, speaking your truth and how we as a family have elevated. It's an honor to think about wearing this shirt, CEO, breaking generational curses. What else, Felipe?
Elevating your culture's mindset
Elevating your culture's mindset
and embracing inner greatness.
and embracing your inner greatness, okay? So remember, through this activity, you're not alone, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Thank you.